Welcome, welcome, welcome. Uh, Today is Wednesday, and as it is every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Arizona time, we do the Explain It podcast. So, my co-host today, Caroline Cain, is actually at a seller's house, so she's running behind. But I'm super excited. I'm the other co-host, Ingryd Hernandez, but I'm super excited because we will be talking to local lawyers here in Arizona about international investors, some things to how we can serve them and how can they get incorporated into our business. But not only that, but how what they need for their businesses is a lot of stuff that you need in your business, even if you're a domestic person here or domestic entity. Things like operating agreement, articles of organization, all your LLC stuff. So we have two local experts that are going to be here with us, and they're going to talk through us on how they can provide services like that to us. And I am super privileged that one of these amazing lawyers, Matthew Apfel, he was my immigration lawyer. So if you guys don't know this, I am an immigrant and I'm a new American citizen as of leap day of this year for February. And that's why I went ahead and did it, because I was like, oh, that's a memorable date. I won't forget that one. So anyways, so I'm going to bring up Matthew Apfel and Angelo Torrealba with us, and they're partners with their firm out here in a couple of places. So I'll let them talk about it because I'm sure I won't get it right. So, hey, Matthew. Hi, Angelo. How are you?
Hi, Ingrid. Congratulations again on that citizenship. It's a big deal, especially on a leap day.
Yeah. It kind of all worked out, right? He's like, hey, do you want to be a citizen today? We're doing a little thing right here. And I'm like, what? Today? I don't
Let's
have
make
any
it work.
with
Yeah.
me, nothing. So yeah, I had a pretty great story because my husband out of nowhere was like, hey, I'm in the parking lot. I just came to support. And I was like, well, I'm really glad you came because in a couple hours I'll be a citizen and I need somebody to witness what just happened. But yeah.
Yeah. No, that was wonderful. And thank you so much for having Angelo and myself on your podcast. I recall seeing your podcasts and your online social media presence, and it's awesome, and it's so great to bring all the information to your listeners and your viewers, and you're a role model for us in that regard as well. So
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, so obviously I got to know you a little bit through the immigration process and then realized that you do so much more. And how many languages do you speak, Matthew?
I speak English and Spanish and Chinese, and I also have a bit of Hebrew and a little bit of Korean. But Angelo, my partner at the firm, also. Angelo, how many do you speak?
Spanish, English, Italian, and Portuguese.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he yells at me in all four sometimes. So
that's a good partnership then.
Yeah.
Ingrid, congratulations for your citizenship.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was about time. So I was hesitant for so long. I made a mistake as a college kid. I'm very honest about my past. I had a DUI, and that kind of kept me from going forward. And then finally I was like, okay, I have no excuses now. I'm more financially sound. I should be able to go and do this. And so it was so much easier and quite honestly empowering to have a lawyer. I know that there's like a million lawyer jokes, but I will say when you're doing something like going and getting your immigration done, having a lawyer with you by your side and really working. I mean, all I did was take orders. Like, Ingrid, fill this out, send it in, pay this thing. It's like, it makes the process so much easier when you have an experienced person just like walking you through everything. And even like the final interview where, Matthew was there. honestly, I think Matthew talked to him more than I did. I was just sitting there, like they were chit chatting, like there was a lot of overlap in their background, and so I was like, oh, this is great. Like I didn't have to say much, so that was really helpful.
Well, it's a really good point, and thank you. I'm glad it went easy for you. Most people, when they are thinking about getting an attorney, it seems like that's the scariest step, is who do I reach out to? Why? Just why? Most people think of the law almost like we think of medicine right now, where I can Google this on the internet, I can do this for myself. But the thing that is scary is that as a consumer, and when we're going out and applying for naturalization or going to set up an LLC, when you're doing it for the first time by yourself, you really are doing it for the first time by yourself. And Angela and myself have been through these processes so many different times that we understand what's normal and what's not normal. And we almost act in a way, we feel like we act more as psychologists and counselors to our clients to say, this is normal. This is what we need. And that experience is really valuable. And the more that we've practiced, now we've practiced for around 10 years in this iteration of our firm, we see that more because we have that experience, and a lot of stuff is not, there's very few things that are new to us.
Yeah.
But there are a ton of lawyer jokes. We're normally seen as the aggressors, people that are trying to take advantage, that maybe know more than other people. But the reality is that we were trained to think a specific way, and we were trained to put a lot of big concepts and tons of different pieces together to explain that to our clients and to help them have the system work for them.
Yeah.
And that's how we see our role in our collaboration with our clients, as helping to explain, how do you move your business forward? How do you move your immigration process forward?
Yeah. And thank you for coming on the Explain It podcast. I hear you keep saying that word, it keeps popping up, but that's great. And so how did you and Angelo meet? Like, how did you guys end up? So like, I'm sure you got your own operating agreement between the two of you. Like, how did that happen?
Well, Matthew was in Washington, D.C., and I am original from Venezuela. And then
my cousin, just kidding, because I'm Colombian, you're
Oh yeah. Oh, I love Colombia right now. They are doing amazing. So and then I graduated as an attorney in Venezuela, and I do my master's in Australia. So I moved to Australia, and I live in Australia for many years. I believe 7 years, 6 years, 7 years. And then I came to the United States, and I studied here at ASU, Arizona State University, my LLM. Yes. And then I was very involved with the Venezuelan political situation, and I went to protest at the Organization of American States in Washington, D.C. And then I remember Matthew walked through me and asked me, what is this? And I said, well, this is a protest for the Venezuelans. And he wanted to show off his Spanish. So we started chatting for a while. And then we went to have a coffee, and then he told me all his background and that his family is actually from here, and that he is from here, from Arizona. So I graduated, we keep the relationship, the friendship, and then I say, Matthew, you working there, why you don't come here to work in Arizona? We can open a law firm based here, because he already have his own law firm in DC. So in that way we started, and it's been amazing. We started doing immigration. I also came here. I seek for asylum. Then I become a resident, and then citizenship. So we went through the whole process, through not only as an attorney, but also as a human being. I went through the whole immigration process, and so we understand our clients.
That's fantastic.
It was a really interesting story because I think everything has a purpose in life. And when I met Angelo, I didn't know that much about South America. I had been to Asia. I had been to Europe. I had studied Mexican history in high school and had gone to Mexico. And I'm always fascinated by the world. And Angelo was one of these other people that was like, we call ourselves like citizens of the world because we are just so interested in other people's cultures, where they come from. And so when I met Angelo and we started talking, he said, "Oh, I'm an attorney, and we're doing this." Angelo also, he's like the Forrest Gump story for me, because a brilliant Forrest Gump, because he's met everyone and he's done so much stuff that I could chat with him forever. But Angelo was a attorney in Venezuela and in Australia doing corporate work. He worked for airlines. He worked with British Petroleum. He's worked with, and only I will be the one that will tell you all this. So
He's selling me better than I sell myself.
I know.
But
That's what I'm talking about.
he had that background, came here as an asylee, and when we started our firm, we started as working with I had my firm that was really only doing business work in DC, which we'll talk about, the business side that we're working on. But we got more into the immigration side with also working with Venezuelan refugees or individuals that were coming for seeking political asylum, which was fascinating to me to be able to help. And so by doing that process, that is now a good part of what we do at our firm. But we also together have been able to put together our language and our backgrounds to work with corporate clients that are wanting to set up in the United States, and taking Angelo's background working with these huge companies and my background doing federal litigation, doing intellectual property, which is like trademarks. And we put together the best of what we know to be able to provide those services to our clients. And we don't do everything. We're a boutique firm. If you meet any lawyer that says we do corporate and securities and this and this and this, walk the other direction, because there's no way that someone, unless it's a huge firm. But what we do is we've taken a lot of these areas of the law that fit together, like setting up your company. You have to then have a brand, have a trademark, and that's what I focused in when I was in law school at George Washington University. And then after you have your trademark and you're setting up your operations, you have to have your contracts, your master service agreement, your sale of good agreement. And so we do a lot of work that is considered outside corporate counsel work for clients, helping them look at these various areas. And if we need specific expertise, specifically in securities or in really complex tax, at that point, we have trusted colleagues that we go out to that focus on international and domestic areas in that regard, and they help us out. So I just wanted to make sure that I was saying that we don't do everything. And a lot of people ask us, why do you do, how do you do such various areas of the law? How do you work in these areas? And really, it does fit together, and it's really fun to help create this model that we've created to work with companies and see it just kind of progress naturally, because we've been able to have so many different industries and clients that we've helped come into the United States.
Yeah. Well, and like they've said, like the riches are in the niches. So if you're just on the edge of what their corporate lawyers oversee, then obviously you're bringing value to them regardless. But yeah, and you can see the full picture. It's like an immigration component can also be assembled as a part of the of them investing here and setting up companies here. Belen has a really, I think this is Rosie, actually, my friend Rosie. She does have a question. And that's, how does the process of investing in the U.S. real estate differ for foreign investors compared to domestic investors?
So that's a really good question. One thing that's really interesting, about foreign investment in U.S. real estate is that under the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, the federal government can't discriminate and say that foreign individuals can't own U.S. property. There's basically a few areas that foreigners can't own, and that's banks, okay, and certain other types of very sensitive companies that contract with the U.S. government, like for defense and whatnot. But otherwise, except for in certain states, which, like in Florida, they have a limit on Chinese investors, and those are state laws. A lot of investors are able to come in the U.S. and purchase real estate. In Canada, they're not able to do that anymore. There was a law that the Canadian government just set up saying that you can't purchase residential real estate because foreign investors were driving up the price in Toronto and Vancouver, and so there has been new legislation up there. But in the U.S., there really isn't this prohibition on foreign real estate investment. So it comes down to every client, when they come to us, they say, what are the things that I need to be concerned with? And it really is liability. So are you going to hold this property personally, or are you going to hold this property in an entity that has corporate protection, like a corporation, like a limited liability company? Are you going to be in a partnership, like a limited partnership, which doesn't necessarily have corporate protection on its own unless you set it up with different LLCs? So protection and how that is going to be the same consideration for a U.S. citizen as it is for a foreign citizen, because foreign citizens can own corporations. They can be shareholders in a corporation, and they can be members in an LLC. So then you come down to tax. And tax is the biggest issue that the foreign investors have to face, along with, do they want to actually reside in the U.S. based on this investment? So with regards to the tax, that is way too complicated to go into in this type of a forum.
But the one we commonly see is FERPTA, right?
Yes. But there's in addition to FERPTA, there's, when you hold any investment like in property, if you are going to then give that as part of your estate, say to a child, and you're not a U.S. resident, and the gift tax is basically non-existent for those foreign citizens. There's also limitations on the types of deductions that can be made. There's a lot of there's a lot more of favoring U.S. citizens and permanent residents or tax residents as opposed to foreign individuals that are investing. And some of these projects have been created, like EB-5, you might have heard of, where it's a special visa where individuals from all over the world invest at least $1 million into these pools. And then those entities then will invest in a real estate project, like constructing a hospital, purchasing real estate to make a
shopping center.
Yeah. And so these centers for investment are then used as a vehicle for permanent residence for individuals under this immigration EB-5 program. Another interesting.
What does EB stand for? Do you know?
EB is the immigrant visa classification. They all start with EB. So there's EB-1, which is famous individuals that say, what's a foreign actor? Like
Justin Bieber?
Yeah. Say that Mr. Bieber, I don't know what his citizenship status is, but if he wants
Canadian.
to come in,
He's Canadian.
I think he became a citizen because of his wife.
Yeah, exactly. But he's Canadian, but I don't know if he's actually a U.S. citizen yet. But if he wanted to become a U.S. citizen, he could apply through the EB-1, which it basically says, I'm a famous actor. I've been nominated for Grammys. I've been in, films. I've done X, Y, and Z. And so these EB various categories are for people to get an immigrant visa to become a permanent resident, as opposed to like through family.
Yeah.
And then for the non-immigrant sides, you have the alphabet soup. You have the E visa, which is an investor visa. You have a J visa, which is a trainee visa. You have an L visa, which is for company intertransferee. But the EB stands for, I'm going to get an immigrant visa to get a green card, and the number 5 means through an investment. And a lot of these are done through investing in businesses, because on the non-immigrant side, you can't invest in property by just holding property for investment. That's called a passive investment. And foreigners can't get an investor visa through just holding a passive investment. It has to be an active business, like running a pizzeria or putting money
What
in.
about short-term rentals though? Because those are super active.
That is a really interesting point. So certain clients can do either real estate management. So they're running management services through short-term rentals, or through or setting up a management company to then bring in people through VBRO or through, but they'll manage the actual teams that go into clean or XYZ. Another way of doing it is real estate development. So you're improving, so you're putting in the infrastructure, the piping underneath that connects with the sewers. You're taking a plot of land in, say, Pinal County or Yavapai County, buying up a whole lot, subdividing it, and then adding value to it by integrating it with, making like a development to then parcel up and sell. So that part of the business is what will permit you to be able to get an investor visa for foreign individuals that want to go through that e-visa. So it's this type of stuff that is really fun for Angela and myself, because we've worked with actual real estate developers. We've worked with people in these areas, and that now you're starting to see how all of these types of people,
it gets super nuanced. And I know that in my space, in my spaces, especially since we live in Arizona, we have a lot of people asking me questions of undocumented immigrants who are here, who have saved enough mattress money to go buy what we call is the wraparound mortgage. And I know I'm starting to teach you a couple of things about that, Matthew, which is you can take over an existing loan and pay on the behalf of the originating debtor on that, somebody who has that debt. And then you can resell that property with what's called a wraparound mortgage. I like to call it the burrito mortgage, because like the inside mortgage is the beans and then the outside is the tortilla, and so that way people can remember the wraparound mortgage. And people have asked me, like, who can buy that? But usually that's for a primary home. So is there a distinction there if it is their primary? Maybe we can hear from Angelo, like if it's somebody's primary home, not an investment, but they're here undocumented, is there anything that would hold them back from being able to buy that?
Well, the first thing that you need to, and the connection that we have with properties and the visas is just, it will depend on what sort of visa the person is looking for. And that's the only way. Like, for instance, if we're talking about investment, I don't know if you're talking about any.
No, I'm actually talking about, so I'll give you an example. Friends of mine who have a painting company, they have somebody who's saved up enough, I call it mattress money because it's not been through a bank. So they have a down payment, or here we call it an enganche, right? Like what people are going to put as a down payment into a property like one that I have, where, okay, I'll take $40,000 down, and then it'll be like $2,700, $2,800 a month. Like, what's to stop them? Is there any reason they wouldn't be able to buy that as a primary home, even though they might not have a social security number or an I-10, for example?
Well, that is a big issue, the social security and the I-10 and the banking. And I'm like, Angela, a lot of people that we see, I'm just thinking out loud, is with DACA, it's the issues related to getting the use of the banks, and getting a social security number to be able to
because most of them doesn't have any identification. Even the government haven't issued then
Mhm.
any documentation because they do not have any way of obtaining. Most of them doesn't even have a passport,
Yeah.
and they cannot open an account in a bank.
But
Yeah.
So that
but
goes on the sense that most of them are like living in shade, you
But
know.
Angela, like the 245I like clients that we have that are essentially able to that don't even realize that they are eligible to become permanent residents even if they came without permission. There's a lot of individuals
Mhm.
Yes.
that don't even realize, and we that's not a huge part of our practice, but we have helped individuals that were like, for example, we have people that will come to us and it will be like a big business,
Mhm.
or not even the business, but a very wealthy investor that says, look, I have this individual that I know and they are incredible. They don't have they came here without permission, or they're DACA, and they do have a work permit because of through DACA, but their mom has this question for you because she wants to assume a mortgage or wants to, but the mom doesn't even realize that she is married to a U.S. citizen that is, and that is what I was trying to raise, because
Yes.
even there's these issues that there's a lot of people within the immigration system that are told so many different things that they
Mhm.
don't know who they
Yes.
can trust. Like, it's
Yeah.
very hard.
You know, Matthew saying something very important, and is we have so many clients that they think that there are no hopes for them in the immigration, part. They actually buy houses, they have their own businesses, and they are very successful, and they don't have documentation or anything like that. But most of them, when you scrutinize their life, you can tell that they have a son that can request them as a resident,
Mm.
or they have a family member that is still alive and they can do
Right.
something for
Or
them.
yeah,
So
or
opening that door for them, and since Matthew started talking, and there is something very important that I can tell that we have done, and we love doing, which is creating strategies. When you are able to understand, and that's what Matthew say about, we are like doctors. First you need to analyze what is the case of the person,
Mhm.
and his life, because we know only goes through, so what can you offer me? We love to sit down with the person and be the human part. So how are you? Tell me, how is your family? Who is this? Who is the other? And in that way you can understand where the person come from, what the person really wants. Sometimes they don't even capable to understand anything, so you need to be able to frame them on so they can understand you. And then you see they have a family, they are family, or they are friends that have a restaurant, and they can be a sponsor for the restaurants,
Mhm.
or for whatever business. And at the end of the day, those people are so grateful to be able to have an option, and they feel like today. Just let me tell you, I have a client that she won an asylum, and she just becoming a resident. However, she won the asylum probably 4 years ago, and I remember she was at the detention center,
mm,
and we met her at the detention center. When that happened, when I spoke to her today, I said, in
I think it
one
was
year
like
you can
6 years
become a
ago.
resident. Why you haven't become a resident? And that's what she told me. Because first I wanted to buy my property, my house, because I wanted to make sure that we have, a house, and we have a car, and we are 100% stable in the country. And now is when they're going to pursue the resident. So
Mm.
for many people, for many immigrants, it's so important to buy a property and to be able to have a place, to feel stable.
You know, right next to my door, I've had we literally I've had this next to my door for probably 9 years, and this is the first time I've opened it. But it's one of our top level plans that we made for one of our first clients that now is a multi millionaire owner of a car dealership. I can't say where.
Oh yeah.
But because of confidentiality. But I mean, this guy came to us and had maybe $40,000 that he had, and he had studied real estate when he was living actually in outside of the country, and then came to the United States and then purchased some real estate, and then opened up a used car dealership, and then had to, and his partner was actually a DACA recipient.
A DACA recipient.
And
Yeah,
then we did their investor visa. We put together all of this. You have to do the trademark. You have to set up the entity. You have to do the operating agreement. And we did all of these pieces and put it all together.
Yeah.
And they did the hard work because they invested in our advice to say, like, it's insurance. These are the bits and pieces that is going to work for you. That this is what you have to be concerned about. Not everything is a person hiding in the dark, and not everything is a threat. But this is what you need to look at, and we put together this top to down plan of this is the pieces, and we just did their renewal of their investor visa for their second time, and now we looked at their cash flow statements, and it was in like the millions of dollars. So a lot of people that come to the United States, like Angela was also saying, to bring this full circle, is one of the biggest ways of protecting your wealth is in real estate, and the ways to be able to, for the long term. We've seen that when you're looking here in Arizona, there's been the bubbles, there's been the 2009, there's been all of these issues in terms of what types of mortgages are good mortgages. There's been all of this that, and you have done such an amazing job just introducing these concepts to real estate investors and individuals and real estate brokers to say that these are the various ways of investing in real estate. These are the various mechanisms that you can utilize to get into this and into this area. And it is really for a lot of immigrants, a lot of people, they want to be able to have a piece of the American pie. And through real estate ownership, it really is a very secure way if you do it correctly and you do you educate yourself. And that's the part that is difficult, to be able to learn from someone, have a mentor from someone like yourself, or when we have clients that come to us, or even we do pro bono work for individuals who are doing startups, who we really believe in what they're doing, to get that advice and understanding how is this going to work for you that's what's really vital, and Angelo's taught me a lot of that. People that come to this country, they want nothing more than to make their lives bigger and better.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And as an immigrant, and Angelo, I know you can relate to this, coming here and being exposed to what real estate can do for you, obviously, is a big deal. What I find funny though, and I was talking to my husband about this the other day, is that I grew up in different apartments, and so when I was, for me, it was a step up from where I came from, but like I grew up in different apartments, and I was like, I can't wait till one day to be in a really fancy apartment. But like my perspective of what I wanted as I was a kid, but as an older person, was totally boxed in still from my experience of only living in an apartment and not thinking one day I want a house with like 10 bedrooms and a pool with big yard and whatever. But yeah, so much is influenced in like how you grow up when you come here, and what defines as like the American experience for you as an immigrant. But I've only been investing for 3 years now, a little less than 3 years actually. And I, like to your point, if you have a plan and you have like a destination that your brain can see, it's so much easier to get there, because it's just a matter of now following the Google map to get there, right? Like you'll get there. So what I'm hearing you say is that you and Angelo, if you have a business plan or where you want to end or where you want to be, excuse me, with your business, you guys can actually draw it up and say, here's the steps to take it there. Here's how. I mean, I need one of these meetings, because you just told me it was like multimillionaire guy. I'm like, okay, I want to be one of those.
You know, let me. You know what's a funny story?
It's a lot of stress and pressure, but we love it.
Angelo, remember one of our biggest? We're almost like a married couple. It's hilarious, but remember when we had probably our biggest fight ever, when we were starting our Arizona office, and we were putting together our business plan, and
Oh yeah, I really remember that. Yeah,
how much we needed to have in terms of, because Angelo has his MBA as well, which he didn't tell you. I had worked on Wall Street, and so we understand financial statements, and we were going through what are we going to need in terms to we'll have revenue, and then we have all of our costs, what's going to be a bottom line, and then if we have, and we just were putting in the numbers, and we're like, we're going to have to pay ourselves, and how can we pay ourselves $800 a month to start? We're going to be losing money for the first year. How are we going to? And it was scary. It was very scary because we didn't understand that to eat an alligator, it's only one bite at a time. And we really were looking at this huge thing, but really by sitting down and making that plan and then digesting a piece, it makes it more digestible. You're understanding, okay, well, if I want to make, say, $12,000 a month in salary, which is a good amount of salary, I have to make, maybe $6,000 every 2 weeks, which means that we have to get these, and I'm just picking these number out of the air. But you need to then have this much coming in, and then from this type of a client, and then this from this. And so it was really, when we are in the pilot seat, it became really self-evident that we needed to really walk the talk to walk the walk, in doing this for ourselves as investors, to create a law firm where
there is one thing important that I have noticed with so many people. It is so many people has ideas and they want to create their own business. They want to invest, or they have the money, they want to buy the properties, they want to create a restaurant, but for them it's really hard to find the right person that can put that in paper. And because it's not only the fact that you're going to put your idea in paper, it's just that when you start writing your own dream, because at the end of the day, that's a dream, that you want to make it real, you start seeing different things that you didn't knew before, and you start creating more. So that's the importance to write, to put in paper, your business plan. And of that, I always ask everyone, you need to bring optimistic energy, positive energy. If you come in here already like a loser, like I lost everything, I'm never going to make it, it's not going to happen. Because everything has to be to your attitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you have the attitude, I can tell you, you will make the money that you're expecting, and then that money will double and triple.
Yeah,
that's the way to work.
Yeah,
that's how my dad was. He set up his own surgical practice in the early 70s. He said, if you do the work, the money will take care of itself.
Absolutely, 100%. So I want to reel it back to you guys becoming partners, you walking the talk, right? Like actually going about it. I think maybe the term we were hearing was like you were reverse engineering your goals. Like if I'm going to make this much money, here's what we know will create that money. Therefore, here's how many clients we need to have, appointments. Isn't it interesting out there in YouTube land, and especially if you guys are listening, how it doesn't matter what business you're in, whether you're wholesaling, whether you're fixing and flipping. Like, I know I should be underwriting anywhere from 3 to 5 properties every single day if I want to get to our 20 flips this year. So like, that's just a math equation. And then you just put in the work. Like, once you know what your targets are, that's all it is. But what I wanted to reel it back to is your operating agreement. So I am guilty of this. I think you said, you find an operating agreement like online.
Online or legal.
Shoe doesn't fit your size, right? Like if you're looking for shoes.
Exactly. It's like it may look like a shoe, but will it fit your foot?
Yeah. So if maybe we can go through real quickly, what are some of the top 5 questions maybe that I could that you can think of that you should be asking if you're going to think about creating a partnership? Like, what are some of the top things? Because like, you're really getting married at the end of the day. So how is your marriage going to work? What are like the top questions you should be asking if you're thinking about creating an LLC together, for example?
That's such a great question. I think the biggest thing that is really important is the length of the time that you want to be working on that project together, that partnership together. Do you see it as a short-term piece? So are we talking about one investment in one project or one location? Are we talking about creating a location and franchising? So the length of time that you're going to be working together and the scope of that is really important. Because if the person then wants to leave and you're in the middle of going from, because most business, it starts out kind of flat and then it starts going, and then sometimes the money doesn't necessarily follow the growth, as you know, because you have to spend more to make more. And so if you're like about to pop and then need to bring in extra money and you're kind of riddled with debt, but you just need to go a little bit further, it's like this podcast, How I Built This. If you guys are not on the same page, it's not going to work. That's the worst thing you can possibly be doing when you're going into an operating. So you have to look at language in the operating agreement that talks to, do you guys, who can the person just leave without and taking their investment or their part of the partnership with them?
Matthew, I would say something that when the word operating agreement scary everyone.
Right. And that's for an LLC.
Everyone is scared of operating agreement. But I'm gonna put you this: when someone get married, you already need to plan your divorce. So operating agreement is that plan.
Well, you have to make
no way you're gonna be able to, agree both parties, or in this, because it's a partnership, what exactly how you're gonna work.
You have to have those hard conversations, and you think that, we're just gonna be having fun, working in Starbucks together, trying to hustle and get this thing, and then everything will be easier. No, you have to have those hard questions with your business partner before you go see your lawyer, or go see your lawyer and listen to them, and then they're going to ask you some scary things, and then you have to be able to have those realistic questions.
For sure. And I've heard this before, whether you like it or not, you're actually going to have a prenuptial agreement. It's either you're going to agree with it, like when you guys are happy and things are good, or the government is going to tell you what that agreement looks like.
That's another point.
Regardless, you're going to enter. Who do you want to be in charge? The government?
What day do you live, and what are the laws?
Exactly. So if you don't have a partnership agreement, just like Ingryd was saying, there is a Arizona Companies act that basically says, this is what, if the parties did not agree, because an LLC is a contractual entity, basically it's a partnership that has a corporate protection out around it. So there's not, it was kind of created for real estate in Wyoming and natural gas investment. And so it was basically created to be a less formal corporation, but a partnership that the parties can agree to the terms.
Like a level up from a JV, like a joint venture, but not as high.
Yeah, so you have your sole proprietorship, then you have your partnership, and there was a question that came in about like a partnership that I wasn't able to answer, but so I'm thinking about entering into partnership now. We're in the process of finding out our personal goals and if they align with each other. Yeah, that is so important. Just like we're saying, because you have your sole proprietorship, which is your vision. What am I going to do? And then you have the partnership, which is not if you don't have an agreement amongst the partners, then partners are equally liable for the profits and the losses. So if one partner goes off and starts running people over by accident while doing so, the other partner is liable for that if that's in the course of the business. So you have to know your partner. Your partner is going to be, like I'm joking around saying, like, like your spouse almost, because you guys have to know if you guys are able to have those tough discussions without having it become, acrimonious and difficult. Like, you have to be able to walk away. And Angelo has taught me that you have to be kinder to your partner than you are kinder to yourself in a way, because you have to have respect. If you don't have respect in that relationship, we all have our own strengths and weaknesses. We all have our own things that are scary for us, but bringing two people together is better than one.
I want to say something which is more human, and I like always to bring that part with everyone that comes here. And it's when you're going to do a partnership, it's so important to know the person that is going to be your partner. But the most important part is to understand how that person behave when have a lot of money, or when that person is a money crisis. Because that is really the moment when you will know how your business is going to succeed, and how your business, in case of not succeeding, how you're going to fix the problem in order to succeed. And I can tell you, especially when people is in a money crisis, right? They are people, not everyone, obviously, I'm not generalizing, but there are individuals that might get so stressed out that they can commit acts that are not legal, just because of the fact of they are in a crisis.
We're out of fear.
And fear. So that's so important. I believe this is one of the most important areas that the person have to learn when you go into a partnership. How you do that, where it's important to get to know that person.
And then go to like a gun range, like I did today, and see
how. Oh yeah, I saw that on your Instagram.
and one other quick thing is, so then you have your partnership. If you have an LLC, it's basically a partnership with corporate protection. And then and there's different tax treatment for all of these, and so that's what's important to talk with an attorney or an accountant to get an idea of which is the right one for me. A lot of people do LLCs, and then they have self-employment tax, which means that it might be more expensive to have an LLC without having an LLC, and maybe doing an S election after doing a corporate check the box election, being taxed as a corporation, and then being taxed as an S corporation, where you avoid that self-employment tax. So can I have an LLC and a partner have his own LLC in both LLCs? Yes, that is, and that having two different LLCs and then having the LLC have a partnership agreement is one type of a structure for a joint venture. And normally though, and you can have a partnership agreement, you also can have one LLC that then has two LLCs that basically are both members within that LLC. So that's a better way to go about it, because then that LLC has corporate protection, and you each have your LLC that's investing in that LLC. this I'm giving, and I'm not, and
Generalizing, you're not
Like
giving legal
general, yeah.
I'm
advice.
not giving legal advice,
Disclaimer.
but there's different, and this
Yeah.
brings the thing up. There's no really simple answers, but there's these things that I'm saying. It gives you food for thought. So
Yeah.
there's ways of saying what, because if you don't have an LLC, you don't really have corporate protection, a partnership, but you both, an LLC only is liable for what's in his bank account for the most part. Unless there is fraud, misrepresentation, that type of stuff. But that's why it's always better to have a corporate entity that is operating, so that you're not putting your personal bank account and your family's bank account really at risk.
Okay, I'm going to go back and ask a question from Margarita, who said, because I know we were talking about foreign investors before. So what are the benefits of working with foreign investors, and how can I, Margarita, as an investor, be more attractive to international clients?
That's a great question. So the first thing I would think is, our culture as Americans, we're very individualist. And so a lot of times the way that we speak with foreign investors is like we are speaking with an American, not necessarily a Venezuelan, a Mexican, even a Canadian, a Brit. So it's very important to learn about how is that other person perceiving you, learn a little bit about their culture, learn a little bit about how, because and why would you want to work with foreign investors? If you're only working in the United States, we're a very wealthy country. We have tons of money in this country. But guess what? The Chinese have a ton of money. The Japanese have a ton of money. The Mexicans have huge economies. And by opening up your ability, your business to attract foreign investment by having foreign clients or foreign partners, you are expanding the basket of money that you are able to have at your disposal. And so that is why you're basically making a bigger marketplace for yourself than just by having just and so, Angelo, what are some things that you've told me, like when we're working with Latino Americanos, or working with
Well,
you're like,
the thing is, like, it is a little bit hard to understand the way of different cultures. And depending on, for instance, Latin America, they're going to work. They're going to do their work, and they're going to make it happen. We literally, we have no fear, because in some way we don't know the system in the United States perfectly, because we weren't born here. Therefore, someone that is from the United States, that was born here, understand the system, and therefore there is more fear, because more you know, more scared you are. Less you know, it's easy for you to dare and do whatever you want to do.
That's true. But
so in that sense, we have clients, for instance, from Brazil. They just come here and get a partner who is a U.S. citizen, and the person wants restaurants. He already has restaurants in Miami, Orlando, Tucson, in Phoenix, and probably he has the will that only one American say, no, that's too fast. We're going too fast. I can invest. I can help you, but we need a plan. We have everything, but the difference is, like, probably a foreigner will bring the will, will be the one who's going to bring more energy to that will.
Yeah, that's very true.
That could be one of them.
Another thing, Angelo, is like when you are first talking with someone from, say, Latin America or from Asia, it's really important to get to know them. It's really important to talk about their wife, talk about their kids, talk about their husband.
Oh, yeah. You cannot go straight to the point.
Americans, a lot of the time, we say, hey, let's start talking about business and we're going to get this done. And if you don't, they're just going to walk away.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
And that's the reason why Matthew and I, we had that synergies, which is pretty good. We had clients that come here and they are Latin American. And when they sit, if Matthew's working, and he goes straight to the point. This is what, so the client is like,
well, that's my mind.
He doesn't feel embraced by the environment. So you need first to talk to him. How are you? Where are you from? What do you do for work? How do you, how do you feel
to,
today?
to
All
get
that
to know
kind
them
of
as a person.
before to enter into the conversation of, okay, how can I help you?
Yeah.
So those are very different pattern
Yeah.
of approaching people. But I believe that in United States now, due to the amount of cultures, we are adapting that kind of system in which we are getting more human. We want to know more about the person, and that kind of it's not a model. It's that kind of way that people are working right now is that it is coming with all the changes that the world is having. So after COVID, we're becoming more humans.
Yep.
Yeah.
So businesses, we see they succeed if you feel see the human connected to it. So
Yeah.
that's
And
important.
And sorry to jump over, but one final thing that I think is really important is look up, if you want to be more attractive international clients, try to look up a little bit about international. And this is a whole other thing we could talk about: internet marketing to international clients, to marketing, just marketing, market reports, how to market, what do individuals from, say, China want, as opposed to what do Americans want.
Yeah.
Because like, for example, just on a basic level, when I go into a store and I see green on packaging of chips, I think it's sour cream and onion. But when you're in China and you see green and white and you open up the bag, you're eating cucumber cream chips because it's cooling. And I'm like, this is disgusting. But to break that down to the level of us, for Americans and us here, we have to understand, if we are marketing through a website, a lot of cultures don't really care about your website. If you're and you can use AI, there's various ways of going through YouTube and using different languages and personal. These are all things that Angela has taught me about, and that I think it's really important to look at. What is your target audience? Because you're not going to sell yourself to the world. What are some countries, what are some areas that you want to reach out to and learn about? What do they value? What do they want when they're purchasing a service, purchasing a good?
That's great. We have one other question, but I don't think we'll be able to answer here. It seems like a real personal opportunity. So, Senora Torres, I did see your call out. I think her husband is from Mexico, so she needs a little bit of help. But definitely, as we round this up, I definitely want to make sure we give out your information, so someone like Senora Torres can go and reach out to you and see how you can help them with their immigration issue, and see if maybe you could be of support. Now, if somebody needs an immigration lawyer or immigration advice, are you only able to help them if they're in the state of Arizona? Or I think, where's your other practice in Washington?
We're in Washington, D.C. and Arizona, but we practice
nationwide.
Yeah, because immigration is federal law. We do go all over the country to work with
All over the
clients,
country.
and all over the world, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Travel
do
a
try
lot with
to
clients
talk
everywhere.
about people that want to come to the United States and
Yes.
speak with them about their interest. Yeah.
Yes, and very important for Mrs. Torres, she can call us, make an appointment, and we don't charge for our consultation. Even if she want to come to the office, we like to explore and listen. And if if there is something that we can do, because what is important for us is just to tell the person what are their options. If there
I
is
love
no
that.
options, we will tell you you have no options, because you cannot be around with people that is gonna just get your money, and then after that file some papers, and then you say, well, USCIS say you don't have an option, because we don't like that kind of stuff.
Your
I
best
would-
advertising is through your current client.
Yes.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And that's why the majority of all of our referrals, are from former clients and from former businessmen, or clients, or
business women. Yeah.
business women, of course.
I'm just
Of
joking.
course. No, that is
We don't have the number, our phone numbers there. We didn't put it. It's 6
Oh yeah, no. It's
399
602.
7970.
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna type it into the comments. So what did you say?
601.
No, Angelo.
Sorry.
602
Yes.
399 7970.
Okay. And then
And
website?
and the website is apfelassociates.com.
Yes.
APFELANDASSOCIATES.com. And when they call in on the phone, there's an option to speak to press one for English or one to Spanish. And if you press for Spanish, it will go right to those of us that will pick up the call in Spanish. And we're happy to
Our legal assistant in Spanish or our legal assistant in English. We have.
Yeah. And one thing we didn't cover, and I know we only have an hour. I'll send you guys my bill. I'm just kidding. A little lawyer joke.
Well, talk to a lawyer is cheap until you hire
it. One of the things that I already noticed, which is why you guys are probably a really great partnership, is because you, the way you talked about even how you want to attract your clients, it's about service first. And when I was doing something that helped me in my partnerships is I literally wrote down who are the top 3 people in my life who've made the biggest impact. So like the people who who I carry with me in my brain all the time saying, I emulate them. I love them. I love the way they acted. It was like my grandmother, one of my best friends, and an old boss of mine who became a good friend. You're like, well, why do I like them? Why do I like them so much? So for those of you thinking about partnerships, write all the things down. You should have probably between 15 or 20 values that each of them carry. And then you cross compare across the 3 people, and then you realize there's a pattern. There's a pattern of which ones matter to you most. And generally speaking, those are going to be the values that you care about. So we went through this like business planning mastermind, and that was one of the exercises we did. And I was like, oh, and service for me was super high.
That is awesome.
That was one of my top ones. And so Donna Bell, as you go through your partnership consideration, think about doing some of that, because beyond just being able to run a business, you're going to have to be able to get along with your partners and know that you both have alignment in values. And those are the partnerships you're going to have really strong, long living partnerships through. So
yes,
very cool.
That's awesome.
Well, I know we are at the top of the hour. I really appreciate, and hopefully you guys will come back. I would love to do like a more specific case study. I know we were kind of like all over the place.
Well,
so, just a little bit of a recap here. First of all, Apfel Associates can help you guys with any of your immigration needs. Immigrations does spill over into international investing here. Hopefully we can be a resource for Apfel Associates and their clients in case they ever need some investing needs. But get your corporate structures correctly, and they can help you guys with that. And so if you guys have questions, obviously very awesome that they'll do a consultation and make sure they can help you first. So I really appreciate that, and thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Ingrid, for having us. And one other thing I just wanted to mention is we have our trusted partnerships, like, for example, with individuals like yourself, that if investors come and they say, I need to talk to a banker, we have friends that are awesome bankers that we know that will talk to them. And for people that say, look, we need to buy real estate, we have, or this is part of, this is,
we provide the resources. Yes.
That's how we, we'll refer them to you. And that's people that share these values, to have that referral network. That's what makes your business grow, but also it's fun. It's fun to work with people that you have those shared values with.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and close this one out. You boys hang on even after I end the stream. Thank you guys out there. Again, go check out Apfel Associates. They're also on Instagram. I know I've gotten tagged, so go check them out. And like we do every Wednesday at 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Arizona time, we are here to explain it, bring topics, business related, real estate related, and like today, corporate structure and immigration related. So we appreciate all of you, and we'll catch you guys next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Arizona time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.